So hello and welcome back, revolutionaries. Through this video we're going to continue our series of general psychology from IGNU BA course, and we'll cover unit 7, nature and principle of human development. So we're going to, obviously through this title it is clear that we're going to study development, and only through its relation to human development. We're not going to study animal development or any other kind of development, just related to humans. What is the nature and principle of human development? Okay, so this is an introduction. Let us this time start with an introduction. Sujit exhibited dysfunctional behavior as a child. Dysfunctional behavior is just a kind of disorder in which the person does not act normally. He behaves abnormally, you can say. His parents locked him in a chicken coop. Chicken coop is a place where chickens are stored, for various purposes. Like chickens stay there, so that place is called chicken coop. Like the place where horses stay is called a stable. In the same way, the place where chickens or hens or like all of these stay is called a chicken coop. His mother committed suicide and his father was murdered. His grandfather took responsibility for him but still kept him confined in the chicken coop. So you can pretty much have an idea about this, that he spent a major or a good portion of his life in this chicken coop. Alright, so he spent more time in this chicken coop than the amount of time he spent outside of it. He was 8 years old when he was found in the middle of a road, clucking and flapping. He pecked at his food, crouched on a chair as if roosting, and would make rapid clicking noises with his tongue. In short, he behaved exactly like how chickens would. His fingers were turned inward. He was taken to an old people's home by care workers, but there, because he was so aggressive, he was tied with bed sheets to his bed for over 20 years. So you can clearly imagine how much of an impact this had on him throughout his life. I mean, his whole life was utterly, completely destroyed due to this small incident which happened with him during his childhood. I mean, it wasn't for a very long period of time. You see, it was even if they started locking him up in chicken coop from the age of 1 year old, or from the age of ever since he was born, he spent at most only 8 years in this chicken coop. But for the rest of his life, for the next 20-40 years, he behaved like chickens. This had such a great impact on his mind. And why this is so, I guess most of you have already guessed it. It was because this was a crucial point of his time. This was during his childhood years, when he could be easily molded, he could easily be twisted, his thoughts and feelings could easily be changed, and his feelings, his thoughts, all of these changed to act like that of a chicken. So during his childhood age, during his vulnerable age, he was left with the chickens, and he learned from the chickens. This was an age where he would learn most of the things that he would remember throughout his life, or the things that would shape his personality throughout his life. This is that crucial point. And this was the point when he was so badly neglected and left with those chickens, and so he basically obviously picked up from the chickens and started living like chickens. I mean, like you must have heard that story of Mowgli, right? I don't remember what its name was. The Jungle Book, I guess. So how Mowgli behaved like animals, you see, like wolves. He acted like he was part of their group. So this was for the same reason. Now he is over 40 years old, is cared for by Elizabeth Clayton, who rescued him from the home. So the thing that needs to be learned from here is not that how the childhood is a crucial time and how this child was so badly impacted throughout his life. The thing that we need to focus on, that we need to remember, is that childhood is the modeling time of the child. Yeah, we can model him into anything during this childhood. We can twist and turn his thoughts and basically make him whatever we want. Alright. And this is this crucial time which we must teach him good habits, when we must teach him to have good principles, to have good thoughts about everyone else, to respect people, when we must mold him into a greater, into superior human being than how we were. I mean, none of us are satisfied with each other, right? We are all, we can't respect ourselves. And so we all obviously think that we will make our children better than us. So this is that crucial time when we can mold our children's thoughts, when we can mold their personalities to grow up to become a better person than how we are. So the thing to be kept in mind is to control our own emotions and not let them interfere with the molding phase of the child, so that the child receives good habits, the child receives good thoughts. Even after getting treatment and care by many psychologists, Sujit Kumar is still not able to talk and walk like other people. So this becomes a kind of childhood trauma. Like, there's an obvious reason why each one of us turned out how we have. It's because our parents didn't treat us better. They didn't teach us what they should have. They didn't interact with us like how they should have. And if they had, then we would have been a better person ourselves. If our parents had supported us, if our parents had treated us right during these crucial childhood years, then we would have been a much different human being than we currently are, than we are right now. We would have been able to respect ourselves and our parents. So obviously I cannot say that this is your fault in how you turned out to be, or this is my fault in how I turned out to be. The people that are to be blamed are obviously our parents, but we can learn from this and try to change ourselves so that our children do not get the same treatment that we did and do not turn out to be the same people that we have. Why, after so many years staying with humans, Sujit is not able to learn wailing and community in human language? What do you think would be the reason of this failure? So you can clearly see how much the author is highlighting this fact, that the small mistakes, the small incidents, the small traumatizing events at this stage of life will continue throughout his life. It does irreparable damage to the person's personality, to his mind, to his thoughts and feelings. Irreparable damages. So we need to be really, really intensely careful about what we do, what we say, how we act, how we show our act to our child or to someone junior to us, someone in this crucial time, someone in this crucial age. Like I see that there are many youngsters or many adult kids who often go around abusing in front of small children. So these abusive words, this abusive language becomes a traumatizing event for that child who's in his initial stage, who's in his crucial stage. And then he will learn from this, and he will remember these thoughts, these feelings somewhere inside him throughout his life. And this will put a huge impact on his personality. And that is why I urge you to control your feelings, control your emotions, and not do these kinds of things in front of such children who are in their crucial stage. According to psychologists, the reason is not able to learn any of the required behavior within the timeline of critical period. Note this age limit or this period is called critical period of development. But what is critical period of development? To understand this, we need to first understand the concept of development. Now, development again is a really complex issue. It's a really complex term. Development, obviously, if you have read it in civics books, then it says that development means different for everything, like for every person. Development is something different, alright? For an auto driver, development could be better fuel prices or subsidies in autos or better road conditions. For some businessmen, development could be cheaper flights or better flight conditions, or some kind of better business opportunities. So everyone has a different concept of development, and that's why we have to divide development. And we won't go into details about development because we're not focusing on development exactly here. Our main topic here is human development, so we would limit ourselves to human development only. It also explains the importance of critical period in development. Human development describes the growth of humans throughout the lifespan from conception to death. So okay, again, I don't know why they do this shit again and again, but here they have done it once more. So they're saying that development describes the growth of humans throughout the lifespan. So this is not development, it is human development. They have not added this word human in front of it. Development can be in various aspects. Okay, development can be economically also. Development can be development can be in several other ways as well. So this particular part is related to human development. Development could be like the number of rising cases of an endangered species, I mean the number of some endangered species rises suddenly, or some or the nature the forest area recovers a lot. These kind of things can also be considered development, like geopolitical phase. So these things also come into under development, but they are not a part of human development. All right, they are not related to human development specifically. So the forest area recovers, the glaciers recover, or the rivers become more clean and less polluted. These are not aspects related to human development. Human development is specifically limited to humans only, which is completely directly related to humans. So human development describes the growth of humans throughout their lifespan from conception to death. So the growth we as humans perceive, or we as humans feel or faced from our conception, that is ever since we are born until the time we die, that is what development is in the simplest terms. And development does not just involve the biological and physical aspects of growth, but also the cognitive, that is thinking or thought related, mind related, and social aspects associated with development. So it doesn't only include one aspect of development, like it does not only include physical growth or biological growth. So you must be thinking like that development is okay, so I am growing, my height is increasing, my body mass is increasing, I'm going through puberty, or I'm becoming an adolescent, so I'm developing. That is not just that is just one aspect of development. The second aspect, you become more mature. Okay, that is also a very important aspect of development. You become more intelligent, you become more smart, more understandable, more sympathetic. That is also as much related to development as the physical and biological aspect is. They both occupy the same importance. Just a little bit of break, let me have my cold coffee. Okay, so moving on. Where were we? The scientific study of human development seeks to understand and explain how and why people change throughout life. So scientifically, if we study human development, so we tend to explain the motive of this scientific study for human development is to explain why and how we change throughout our life. I mean, what is the need for changing, and why do we change? What is the reason behind it? I mean, like, cannot we stay like a baby all the time? Like, we don't ever grow, we don't ever become smart, we don't ever become intelligent. I mean, these things might look obvious to you, but in fact they have a very real deeper meaning. Okay, moving on. Where were we? This field examines change across a broad range of topics, including motor skills and other psychophysiological processes. Cognitive development involves areas such as problem solving, moral understanding. So this is mind related development. Again, cognitive means related to brain activity or mind. And conceptual understanding, language acquisition, that is acquiring language skills, social, personality and emotional development, and self-concept of and identity formation. The scientific study of development is important not only to psychology but also to sociology, education and healthcare. By better understanding how and why people change and grow, one can then apply this knowledge to helping people live up to their full potential. Okay, so in short, now from my notes, let me read you what human development is. Human development, this means growth in the aspects of physical, biological, cognitive and social, in short. Or you can read it as, this means growth in the physical, biological, cognitive and social aspects. Anyways, you're right. And now, what is study of human development? The scientific study of human development seeks to understand and explain how and why people change throughout life. This field examines change across a broad range of topics, including motor skills and other psychophysiological processes. Topical areas of human development. So what are the areas of human development? I mean, development takes place in specific areas, right? So what are these areas? In this section, we will briefly discuss those areas which are part of investigation among developmental or lifespan psychologists. Following are the major four such areas. So nothing big. They're just saying which are the main focus of scientists who study human development. So these four are the main focus or the major focuses of those scientists. These are physical, cognitive, personality and social development. Starting by the one first, physical development. It involves studying those aspects of our body that are responsible for physical development, such as brain, nervous system, genes, hormones, and availability of nutrition, etc. So in this we study development from the point of view of physical development. We study those factors, those body parts, those organs which are directly responsible for the physical development. Development that is like outward development, or that development that is visible through our eyes. Cognitive development. The focus of this area is to understand how intellectual capacity changes with growth and physical changes. So we obviously know that a 5-year-old child has a small amount of memory, right? And an adult will have more amount of memory. He is capable of remembering more things than a child is. Obviously in normal circumstances, I mean there are definitely exceptions, but in normal circumstances an adult's memory is much more sharp and much more much more greater in amount than that of a child. So these scientists study this through the cognitive development, how and why these changes take place. Why is a child's memory not so sharp as an adult's? What happens? Third is the personality development. This area studies the development or change in one's personality throughout the lifespan. Further, it aims at understanding the individual differences among people with reference to their personality structure. So now these are saying that they try to understand, they try to learn how and why the personality of a person change, and why does it change throughout their life. Like, why not like height, when it reaches a certain point then it shouldn't change anymore? Why is it not like the other aspects of development? Why is it that personality is changing throughout life, and what are the factors which affect personality in what kind of ways? Like what kind of people act in what way, in different kinds of situations. So these are related to personality development. Social development, again, under this area psychologists attempt to understand how people interact with each other and forms relationship with each other. It also focuses on those factors that affect social development. So this area is like when two people meet, how will they interact with each other, and what kind of if a black Indian and a white American meet, what will their reactions be with each other if they are strangers? And if a white American they both meet, then how would their reaction be different from the first case? So like these kinds of several different kinds of experiments are done in the social development. Like how when different kinds of people meet each other and how will they behave with each other, and how all of them would be there would be differences on all these kinds of meetings. Definition of lifespan development. Now reading from my notes, I mean it would become really lengthy. We continue to read everything. So reading from the notes, the pattern of change or development in biological, social, emotional, cognitive aspects that begin at conception and continues throughout life until death. Okay, so this is like the simplest definition of lifespan development. Lifespan development, in a more broader sense, lifespan development would mean development throughout life. Like development throughout life. Development takes, I mean obviously since development has personality as a part of it, and personality develops throughout the life, so obviously development takes place throughout life, right? Because one aspect of development is the development of personality. So they are saying that our development takes place from ever since we are born until the time we die. Okay, now they have added a lot of intricate and complex terms into it. Like lifespan development can also be defined as a methodical intra-individual change associated with progressions corresponding to age. I mean, if you really want me to teach all of these complex words and this scientific language, that's no big deal. These are actually not very tough. They are really easy. But it would be really lengthy and unnecessary to delve into such details. But still, if you do want to learn all of this, if you do want me to explain everything bit by bit, every part of it, every word, so you can just write it down in the comments and I'll make a video on it. No big deal. But for this main video, we're just going to continue with the basic stuff, with the stuff that is really important and will definitely come in the exams. Factors influencing development. So now we understand what lifespan development is. So development takes place in a kind of pattern. Okay, there's a pattern to how people develop. Okay, there's a pattern, or there's always a pattern. I mean, not always. Obviously, there are exceptions once again. But there's mostly a pattern. And how is this pattern? Like, there's a pattern to puberty, right? That we know boys go through puberty from, I don't know what was the age, I think 12 or 14 to 16, something like that was the age for puberty, and for girls it was from 11 to 14 or 15. So this is a pattern, right? Like almost all boys will go through puberty during this stage. Almost all girls will, or a majority of girls will go through puberty at this age, right? So this is a pattern. That physical development that physical development will take place through this time period. Okay, in the same way, there is a pattern that cognitive development will take place from 1 to 5 years of age, or from 3 to 6 years of age. In this time span, in this period of time, in this critical period, like we read in the start, cognitive development will take place, right? So this is a pattern. And there is then again a pattern of social development, that we become more socially active or socially inclusive during the ages of 19 to 21 or 18 to 20 or something like this. There would be a pattern definitely for it also. So this is a pattern, right? This is a specific pattern, like these things are bound to happen in these particular ages, right? So this is what they're trying to say, that development has a pattern in it. The pattern of change, and this is the pattern of change or development in biological, social, emotional and cognitive factors, in cognitive aspects that begin at conception, that start at our birth, right? Like right at the moment when we are born, and finish or complete when we die. I mean, they obviously never complete, but they finish more like when we die. Now, factors influencing development. What are the factors that actually influence development? This is the main question, right? What are those factors that can influence our development, that can change the way we develop? It's here. Some of the major factors that affect human development are as follows. The first is heredity, the genes. This is a really major portion of how we develop, a really major portion. The genes inherited from our parents and ancestors. Ancestors, mark this word here, ancestors. Through ancestor, I mean like from the very start when human civilization was born up to that point. We have the genes of our ancestors, not just our father or grandfather, great grandfather. We have the genes even of our great into 10 father. So all of those genes are still inside us. They are still living inside of us. They never die. So right up to the first human being in this world, we have inherited his or her genes. And these genes, which are inherited from our parents and our ancestors, they play a huge role in deciding our development, especially physical and social development. So that is why most people have a height that is very similar or near to their parents' height, right? Height is a very influencing factor. The children have similar facial features matching up to their parents, or they might not look similar to their parents, but it can be that they look similar to their grandparents or great grandparents. I mean, you really never know. But this is all due to the genes that they have inherited. Sometimes some part of the gene is more dominant, some other part of the gene is less dominant. So obviously these kinds of accidents happen. Okay, second is sex. I mean, this is definitely different kind. So sex as in gender also highly influences a person's growth and development. So obviously, I mean, if you're a guy, you won't start sprouting breasts, right? You won't have a vagina down there. You'll definitely have a penis. So gender definitely plays a huge role, a very distinctive role to say, in defining our physical appearance, and not just physical but our cognitive appearance and our social aspect as well. Social, and what was the other? Yeah, well, whatever it was. So like, men are like, through gender, I'll tell you, men are like generally more aggressive. Okay, women are mostly like, that is why the feminine word is always often associated with being calm and, you know, like caring and soft hearted and all these kinds of things. So men are generally like more aggressive, they are more cold hearted or stone hearted, you can say. I mean, it's definitely turning the other way around nowadays, but it was used to be like this at least. So gender definitely influence how you behave, how you act, how you develop as a person. And women are supposed to have are supposed to be more smart and more intelligent than males, because physically they have a larger brain size than men. So this is also how it directly influences the cognitive aspect. Third is socio-economic factor. Socio-economic factors refer to a person's social and economic condition, like what kind of people you are living with, what is your family's financial condition. They also definitely affect your social environment directly, very directly, and cognitive also to a very great extent. I mean, if you are a very rich person, you are more likely, you are like times more likely to be more confident than a poor person. You are more likely to be more intelligent and smart than a poor person. Why? Because you have had access to better resources. Okay, you have had you will be definitely be more mannerful than a poor person, because you have been taught to be mannerful. So socio-economic factors definitely influence your social aspect to a great extent. The kind of society that he or she lives in and the lifestyle they have highly affects their thinking and social aspects of development. Just a little. Okay, so fourth is the hormones. Endocrine glands secrete hormones directly into our bloodstream and thus regulate the process of growth and development. So hormones basically directly control our growth, our development, especially our physical and cognitive developments. I mean, we definitely know how hormones affect us. Like, I guess you know what I'm talking about, how hormones affect us. And they definitely affect us physically as well. I mean, they decide how much we will grow, at what kind of pace we will grow, how fast we will grow. All these kinds of factors, they are related, they are controlled through our hormones. Under secretion or over secretion leads to abnormal developmental growth. Fifth is nutrition. Nutrition is basically an external factor once again. A good amount of calories and nutrition are required for optimal growth. Nutrition directly influences our physical development and also highly affects our cognitive development. Malnourishment slows down overall growth process. Sixth is race and seventh is culture. So race. It is one of the factors that highly influence our social and emotional aspects of our development. I mean, if you're from a black race, you're more likely to be, like socially, you're more likely to be underconfident, or you're more likely to be more socially awkward, because you'll feel kind of you might, or many black people like might even develop inferiority complex as well. While the white people will definitely be 110% definitely be more confident than a black person. There are cases, of course, when black people overcome their social anxieties, their this inferiority complexes, and they become even more confident, even better than white people. But all in all, like in natural case, the whites are more likely to be more confident than a black person will be, and confidence will bring happiness, so they are more likely to be happy as well. Okay, so culture, race refers to the categorization of people into distinctive groups based on their physical characteristics such as facial features, hair types, and skin color. So like hair types also blonde, black, brown, or purple are also there's So many different colors nowadays, but two important colors are black and no, three. There might be black, brown, and blonde. Of course, white is also there, but that's very very rare, and in most cases, white are only when we grow old. Seventh is culture. It affects the cognitive, social, and emotional aspects of a person's development very highly, as every culture has its own unique values, customs, expectations, and appropriate rearing methods. So, suppose you have a different culture here in India and you go to America, so you feel socially awkward, you'll feel more underconfident, you'll feel like, like kind of weird. You will, because you have come from a place, from a country which has a different culture, into a country which has different culture values, right? So culture also in many cases affects our social development. If you're not able to overcome this social awkwardness, then you might not develop socially in that area, in that new city, in that new country. Now, issues of human development. What are the issues with human development? I mean, like, everything can't go peacefully and smoothly, right? There has to be something wrong in this world. And so, what are the issues? Continuity versus discontinuity. Advocates of continuous model of development describe development as a smooth process. So, issues here also refer to differing views. Different views between different psychologists about what development is, what kinds of development there are, how development is. Continuity versus discontinuity. Advocates of continuous model of development describe development as a smooth process through which all individuals must pass. In short, development is conceived as gradual accumulation of behavior, skills, and knowledge throughout one's life. So, the continuous model describes development that we develop throughout our life and in short amount of times. Like, we keep on gathering knowledge and experience and all the necessary things, and we develop. It's like a continuous process throughout. Like, there are no stages in development, like there are no levels. There's only one level, and it is more like a kind of like loading bar. There's a whenever you play a game, there's a loading in before the game starts, and there's usually a bar that slowly fills up, right? When the loading is completely done, the bar fills up completely. So it's more it's like that bar which keeps on loading slowly, which keeps on filling up until it completely fills up. That is the time you die. So that is development. Development is like a smooth and continuous process, a smooth small, like a loading up of a game. It's similar to that continuous model. Whereas advocates of discontinuous model of development hold the view that development is a series of discrete, that is separate or distinct stages. These theories suggest that behaviors or skills often change over time. New organizations of behavior, skills, or knowledge emerge over time in an abrupt, sudden manner. So it's more like there are levels to development: first level, second level, third level. So when you clear first level, then you go into the second level, and they are saying that when you go to the second level, suddenly you get some power ups, you get some new skills, or you can you can even reduce some skills. Some of your skills might even get reduced. You might backlash from something. So it's more like that. Like, there are specific stages of development. At first you are going through some particular stage. When you have completely successfully completed that stage, then you receive some experience, some knowledge from that stage, and then you proceed to the other stage. So it's more like that. I hope you get a good idea of what continuous and discontinuous development is like. Again, if you want me to explain anything at all, any topic or any specific point from this, just write it down in the comments. I'll either explain it right there or make a new video on it. Stability versus change. Second, this refers to the arguments that does a trait of personality and any other aspect of development remain stable or changes over time. So now this argument is that whether a trait or of our personality, whether it will remain the same throughout life or whether it will change. Okay, so like if a person is short tempered, like during his teenage years, so will he remain short tempered throughout his life, or will it change? Will he eventually become more calm, more peaceful during later stages of his life, or will he become even more short tempered during the later stages of his life? I mean, if I judge it from my father, he has definitely become more short tempered as time goes on. So there's definitely no improvement or no growth for the better. I mean, I can't exactly say he's short tempered, but he definitely gets annoyed really easily. Okay, so there are aspects of physical development like height which change up to a certain time and then remain stable, but traits of cognitive development like shyness can or may not change over time. So if a person is shy, like at his early stages of life, it may be that he will remain shy throughout his life, or it can be that he will become more confident in the later stages of life and even more confident than normally people are, or the normal people are. Okay, so it can, like, anything can happen, right? So this is this is the argument between stability versus change. So some aspects of our development definitely remain, stable, definitely become stable after a certain point, that is, and some aspects definitely change. Now the most famous debate of all the psychology, I guess, this is again the nature versus nurture debate. Okay, so what is this nature versus nurture debate? This is one of the oldest debates about what factors determine the growth and development of an individual. Hereditary factors or environmental factors, as we have read in so many chapters previously. Both genetic traits and environmental circumstances are involved in an individual's development. So they are saying, I mean, not they are saying, I mean, I don't know where it's written or I am saying this, but according to my notes, it says here that environmental and genetic circumstances. Oh yeah, of course they are saying. So both the genetic traits, that is all those the genetic information that we receive from our parents, from our ancestors, that and our environmental circumstances, they are both involved. I say involved, not affect, just involved in an individual's development, although the amount of influence the two have is not clearly evident. I mean, the word evident is wrong here, it shouldn't be evident. So what I'm trying to say here is that both the genetic factors and the environmental factors, both are involved in the development of a person, but which one has more influence is not clear. I mean, yeah, evident is used in place of clear here. So it's not obvious that which has more impact on a person's lifestyle, or on a person's development, whether the environmental factors or the genetic factors. Okay, so this is why that is why there is this debate, this endless debate that does not seem to have any final solution. According to myself or me, hereditary factors try to mold and take advantage, this is my own theory now, of course, and take advantage of environmental factors in order to reach their goal of self-actualization. When environmental factors are stronger, they in turn affect and modify the genetic factors, and the continuous interaction between these two shape our development and personality. In short, what I'm trying to say here is that when hereditary factors actually, they from the very start, I mean, they already have a lot of information stored in them, so they are smart from the beginning. So they try to take advantage of the environmental factors, they try to manipulate the environmental factors, they try to take advantage, like if you are from a rich family, then you will try to take advantage of the resources of the money that your father has. Or if you are from an influential family but not rich family, like maybe you will try to take advantage of the resources that your father has or your mother has, or all the connections that your family has. And why would you try to do this? In order to reach their goal. By their means, I mean the hereditary, the genes, the genetics. The genes have a kind of information stored on them, and they have a distinct goal. Okay, I mean, you are definitely nothing. You are nothing at all. Whatever you are is nothing. But I mean, this is really ridiculous. We're delving more into philosophy here, but philosophy and psychology are so much related that, like, understanding one thing without the other is almost impossible in here. So let's start with philosophy first hand. So like philosophically, we are, like, some people say that we are a soul. Okay, but what is a soul exactly? Nobody knows. According to my theory, like from here, how I'm saying it, it would basically mean that whatever we think, whatever we, when we grow up, like when you're a child, you don't know exactly what you want to become, what will you do in later life. But as you grow up, you set a distinct path, you set a specific goal. Okay, so what attracts you towards the goal. Like if everything was the same, then every person would be attracted to the same goal, right? But some people are attracted to some goals, the other person is attracted to some goal. Somebody wants a lot of power, the other person may want a lot of fame, the third person may want a lot of money. So everybody wants something different, right? And that is why everybody has different goals. So where does these kind of feelings come from, that we want this particular goal, that we like this particular goal? These feelings come from the information stored in our genes. Our genes we are nothing. This consciousness, the consciousness is nothing but the consciousness of our genes. Okay, so we as a whole are nothing. We are nothing. We are just a consciousness of a sperm cell. That is what we are. That is what the creation is about. The creation is nothing but the consciousness of a sperm cell. So we as a human, like, we think that our brain is different, our mind is different, and I am somewhere else. I mean, I'm using my brain to do things. So brain is definitely a part, but the person who's using, what is that person? Who is that person? Is the person a soul? No, the person is a consciousness. Consciousness of what? Consciousness of information. Genetic information gained consciousness, and that is who we are. In short, we are nothing. When we die, we just die, nothing happens. Or you can say a part, a very little small part of our consciousness transfers into our son or our daughter, that is into our child. And that is why every living species, every single living species, they reproduce. Okay, reproduction is an inherent factor in us. Why? Because everybody, every living thing in this world has a desire, has a the strongest desire that you can say in this world is the desire to live. And every species, every living person, every living soul, every living thing in this whole universe has this strong desire to live, to keep on living. Okay, like the greatest desire that humans have had is to become immortal, and this is our way of becoming immortal. So we don't like to die, and that is why this is deep inside us. This inherent desire is inside us to keep on living. So we pass on our consciousness to our future generations. Okay, like I said, like I told you in the start, that we have the genes of our ancestors as well. So our ancestors have not died. A part of their consciousness is alive in our genes today. Okay, and these genes definitely go through a lot of changes, and so their consciousness change. And then this changed consciousness will again be like a small part of this, a very small part, mind you, I'm saying small part, not the complete consciousness. Otherwise we would remember all our thoughts and experiences of our fathers or our grandfathers. So a small part of this consciousness will be transferred into the next child, into the next baby that we would create. And in this way we keep on living. So none of our ancestors have actually died completely. I mean, those ancestors, the very first person, the very first human in this or born on this earth will die when all of the humans have completely been eradicated from this earth. So that person is still actually scientifically alive. So the person that we are, the person that I am, and that is why we have a shared consciousness. Okay, I don't know who it was, Carl Jung, I think it was Carl Jung in the previous chapter. He said that we share a collective consciousness. Now this collective consciousness spans from the very first humans, the very first human, and this is why we have a collective, we have a shared consciousness, because that person is actually part of our consciousness. We are nothing but parts of hundreds of millions of different consciousnesses. Okay, now what is consciousness? Consciousness again is a really brutally complicated concept, and I don't know if I'll be able to explain it in properly, or whether I should explain it. But the thing is that we as a living being, I mean, this is a completely mystery how life is or what we are. Okay, so like in one, like I told you, we have three kinds of mind, like conscious, subconscious, unconscious mind. So at one time you are studying, at the same time your mind is thinking something else at that time, right? Exactly, don't lie to me. Okay, I mean, everybody knows, if you pay a little more attention to it, you will realize that you are thinking some other thing in your brain even while you are studying. And at the same time there is a third person who is observing this, who is observing that you are studying and you are thinking about something else. So you basically refer to yourself as that third person, that the person who is watching both of them, you are that person. But no, you are not that person. You are in actuality, like in the basic raw sense, in the basic term, you are nothing. You are exactly nothing. You are just a consciousness that has been created through the accumulation of millions and millions of consciousnesses. Okay, so you are nothing. Like, you are more like a collection. Like, I add lots and lots of different kinds of sand, and I give the ability to think, and I give the sand an ability to think and perceive things around us. That is that is made possible through our brain. Okay, so the consciousness makes use of the brain, or you can say that the information, sorry, not consciousness, the genetic information takes a help of the brain, or you just say controls the brain, just whatever you want to say, uses the brain to form a consciousness. So when brain is dead, consciousness is dead. Consciousness is a result of the genetic information into brain. Brain is an organ here. So this organ, when genetic information takes control of this organ, it is able to create a consciousness, and that consciousness is who we are. I mean, it's like I told you, it's brutally complicated to explain this, but I hope I give you an idea of what consciousness is, and that is why how my theory comes into play. So this genetic information, this has a whole new world of its own. I mean, it has its own ideas, it has its own perception, it has its own goals. So this genetic information tells you, it can't even tell you. You are this genetic information. So you are this genetic information. So we have, if all of us have different genetic information, so we tend to choose different kinds of professions. Alright, different kinds of professions. And this genetic consciousness, its ultimate goal is to reach self-actualization. That is the highest potential that it can reach, the highest potential, the highest, the most valuable human that it can become through the acquired genetic information of all of its ancestors. Okay, like the highest possible outcome that it can create with all the information of all the ancestors that it has gathered up till now. That is self-actualization. And this is why it tries to take control of the environmental factors, try to use those environmental factors to reach that point. So the greater your ancestors were, the more greater you say the greater, I'm not saying the more greater you will become, okay, but the higher you are likely to set your own goals. So if your father was, say, like an army officer, and your grandfather was also in the army, and your great grandfather was also a fighter, or great grandfather was also very famous general in some army or something like that, or anything related to it. So now, after you have accumulated hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of consciousnesses, your consciousness in this era, in this new body, is more likely to set your goals even higher, because you have the information from all the previous owners also. Okay, so you're more like using the consciousness. It's more like the consciousness grows, and each time it grows, the commanding part changes. Okay, the rest of the part becomes dead, and the commanding part changes, and the rest becomes just stored information. The rest of the part just becomes stored information. So now you have lots of stored information, so you are more likely to set your goals even higher. Now you will think about becoming an army general, because deep inside you already know that I have so much information and I can do it, I can become that person. So you knowingly or unknowingly, you set your goals high, you set your goals higher than what your parents or your grandparents would have, because somewhere deep inside you know that you have the capability, you have the abilities to do that. And when you reach that point, when you have completed that goal, that is self-actualization. And until you reach that goal, until you become that, your body, your mind will try, everything will try to use all kinds of environmental factors to reach that goal. The second case is when, this was the case when hereditary factors are stronger. This is how hereditary factors work. The second case scenario is when the environmental factors are stronger than your hereditary factors. So when environmental factors are stronger, they in turn affect and modify the genetic factors. So when environmental factors are stronger, then your genes realize that we cannot win against these environmental factors, so it is better to change ourselves. Okay, I mean, your genes don't have any ego, they are not offended or anything. So they think that, okay, so in these kind of environmental factors, this kind of situation is not possible, so it's better that we change ourselves, and maybe we try in other consciousness, like we will try in our son's body or in our son's consciousness, when the environmental factors are more better or more favorable. And the continuous interaction between these two, between these environmental factors and the genetic factors, this is what shapes our personality. Okay, so you can clearly see how complex personality is. Personality is so deep and so complex. It's really not easy to explain all this like that. So I guess this is all for today. So and from the next video we're going to start periods of development. I think it's already enough for you to take in for this video, so that's why I'm cutting it short right here. And in the next video we'll try to cover at least the rest of the chapter, periods of development.